This is Football League Radio, brought to you by TradePoint.
Brighton and Hove Albion may not have read the script and scoffed all the jelly and ice cream, but let's not let a 4-1 home defeat spoil the promotion party. Congratulations to Leicester City. We reflect on their return to the Premier League with striker Chris Wood. A rare new experience for Harry Redknapp, who took a trip down memory lane before his first ever competitive return to Bournemouth last weekend with QPR. From banging in the goals to possibly trying to keep them out. Striker Tom Pope explains why he's Port Vale's new substitute goalkeeper. And facing a relegation battle, John Ward reveals why he now feels the time is right to step upstairs at Bristol Rovers.
On radio, online and on mobile. This is Football League Radio with Mark Clement.
Yeah, welcome to Football League Radio, available on the Football League website, iTunes, SoundCloud, and from this week, Audio Boo. We are delighted to welcome... That was the drum roll. Here's the deep breath. The former Leicester City, Rushden and Diamonds, Colchester United, Lincoln City, Rotherham United twice, Wycombe Wanderers, Peterborough United twice, Sheffield Wednesday, Oldham Athletic, Rochdale, Northampton Town, Kettering Town, Notts County, Burton Albion, Torquay United, Bradford City, Aldershot Town, Bristol Rovers and Plymouth Argyle defender Guy Branston. Mate, that is... a list and a half. I thought when Claridge comes on I had a gobful, but why have you been such a frequent mover, do you think, over the course of your career, and why not had one or two moves or stayed put?
Kind of early doors, really. Had a niche in the market. It was something that I seemed to pick up early doors. It was, fit him in here and get him out, fit him in here and get him out, and that's literally how it went for a long period. And as a Leicester kid, starting off, going and seeing Martin about getting in the first team, and
Martin O'Neill, obviously.
Sorry, Martin O'Neill, yeah, and it wasn't going to happen for me there, but he was sending me out on loan trying to get experience and kept coming back, and it wasn't again going to happen there for me, so I went out again, and it literally, I think it was 9 moves before I was even 20, 100 and something games and two promotions under my belt before it even happened, so my name picked up pretty quick around the leagues, and I ended up getting moves off that as well, so it just happened really quick.
Yeah, how many of those would be loans then, do you think, of that great long list there? Are we talking 50%, 60%?
I think it's like 14, I think it is.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's 14. Off the
14 out of 19, so that's a hell of a lot of going to a new place, trying to discover a new footballing environment, new geography, all that kind of stuff. I mean, did you embrace it or did it frighten you at first?
No, obviously, I ain't going to say I wet the bed over it, but it's going to be something that I was nervous about when I first started out, but I went to Colchester as a kid into a very old dressing room, and they took care of me. I ended up meeting one of my former managers now, Paul Buckle, and he was really nice to me then, even as a kid. And then I met two of my best mates at Rushden Diamonds, who obviously is another club I went to. And you pick people up and you soon settle in, and then you get used to it, and then you think, well, I'll do this again now I'm not playing. I'll do this again now I'm not playing. And you literally start looking and speaking to the right people to get yourself out to try and play games, because that's all I was about, playing football matches. And Saturday afternoon is a big thing for me, and obviously, nowadays it's all different times, but Saturday afternoon was the focal point of my week. Train hard, play Saturday. And if I wasn't playing Saturday, there was something I was doing something wrong. So I made sure that the managers knew about that, and that's probably why I fitted in so well, because they knew they could ship me out as well and move me out when they needed to. And that's always good if the club has a good relationship with players, to mutual consent and move on.
You must have had a full gambit of experiences as well. There must have been good periods in there, very bad periods, clubs you left on good terms, club you left on bad terms, somewhere literally you would never want to see any of those players in that squad again, others where you dipped in for 6 weeks but made a very good, life friend?
First ones, I'd say I fell out with Barry over leaving the club. I'd been there 3 times with him before. Fantastic patron of football. Fantastic bloke, and we had to fall out because I needed to get out of the football club. I haven't been back since, and it's one of my big acts to grind in my career, that you have to fall out with people sometimes to get what you want in football, to look after yourself as a footballer. But loads of places I had success at, Rotherham, fantastic time. Sheffield for 6 months was one of my highlights of my career, but I was only there 6 months, and Oldham 18 months were there, and loads of times, and obviously Torquay near the end of my career, which ended up 14 games at the end of the season, got second in the Player of the Years, and then Player of the Year the following year. So fantastic.
And the impact on your own personal life, that's a lot of travelling around, that's a lot of living in hotels, short-term lease flats, etc., etc. Where is home now? Where do you regard home?
Well, wherever my missus and my kids are, really. I still don't class Torquay as my home because I'm always in Leicester and always trying to show my face in Leicester. But I would say Torquay next to my missus and my kids, and I feel very comfortable there. But there's a big feeling to come back to Leicester all the time, and that's the truth. So I am split between the two. Don't get me wrong, the mileage is hard, but also it's an enjoyable break to come back up and see your friends and family and go back to home, which is where my house is, which is Torquay at the minute.
How do others perceive you, do you think?
Travelling salesman.
Purveyor of football skills. On the field, I mean, you're a pretty menacing character to look at. I mean, do you find that with opponents? Is that what they're expecting of you?
Yeah, I'm not going on the pitch to mess about. I'm going there to win the ball and do the right things for the football club. And they know I'm going to put a shift in for the football club because that's why the manager plays me. But also the lads know they're going to be up against it, and that's probably why I've done so well in the past, because psychologically they're already up against it as soon as they get on the pitch. And within the football league, you drop down the leagues for certain elements, and some lads that drop down the leagues because mentally they can't cope with the pressure that the game brings sometimes. So I play on that. It's something that you have to do. You have to play psychologically with these lads, and if he's quick, you have to slow him down, and if he's slow, you have to speed him up and get him out of the way because you obviously want to clear the ball.
See, I think you're a gentle giant, aren't you? Off the field, that's how you come across to me. Probably because when I first got to know you, which was a few years ago when I was doing a piece of the Football League show in Torquay's hotel overnight, I think I saw you sitting there scoffing a very dainty little toffee sundae with lots of whipped cream on top and things like that. And I thought to myself, I expected this guy to eat iron magnets and mangles and stuff, instead of which he's eating prissy ice cream.
Oh, it's one of them things where perception's a huge thing in football, and you get put in boxes, and you're this, you're that, and you're not actually. And I've met some fantastic people in football who you never would have perceived them to be that way, and I'm definitely like that. I'm not someone who's going to beat you up off the pitch, but on the pitch, if you cross the line, I'm going to come and get you if you're a centre forward. And that's how I always put it in my head. And that isn't a chant or spiel. That's what I'm going to do. And if I can catch you, it's going to be one of them things where you're going to know about it. And it's not boxing talk. It's just that's how I was mentally. That's how I was brought up. Watching Steve Walsh and Jerry Taggart as I sit here in front of the old Leicester team, and these were people that I grew up with. Physically watching every movement they did and learning from them as individuals. And then I've had to change my game because the game's changed a lot now. And off the pitch, I enjoy mixing with people and chatting, and that's where people get a bit shocked that I can actually hold a conversation and also talk. I like to think pretty well.
You also coined one of Jeff Stelling's greatest ever phrases. I mean, I don't know whether you ever got to know about this because you'd be playing all the time. But, every time you got yourself a red card, Branston's got himself into a pickle. It's one of his best ever, I have to say. Do you know how many red cards you've had?
I'm sorry to say, I'm thinking it's 23, as in first team sending offs. But wow. You should have seen me as a wild kid. I was even more wild, and Leicester's had to put the reins in. We had a youth team manager called Dave Nish, and he had to come around my house a lot of times when I was a kid to try and calm me down in training, let alone on the pitch on a Saturday afternoon for the youth team. So a fantastic upbringing from Leicester City, I've got to say that. But it was I needed a bit more guidance with the aggression problem I had as a child.
Are you ashamed of that? Are you embarrassed by it, or do you just think it's you? Are you?
No, don't get me wrong. You can play on it. You can be physical with the centre forwards and people like that, but you can be seen as a thug when you're not. It's not something I wanted to be seen as. I would love to have been able to bring the ball down on my chest and flick it over the centre forward and run out with the ball and play the game how it should be played. And I'm a big believer in keeping the ball on the floor and passing it, but physically I couldn't do it. So I had to work with my attributes I had, which was physically dominating people and trying to win as many headers as I possibly could. And sometimes it's a clash of heads in there. And that's the harsh reality of my game. I know my game and I know what I'm about. And I would love, like I said, to have been able to be in a cultured centre-half and people spoke about me, but I probably wouldn't have had a longer career if I've had for playing that way. So I stuck to what I knew, and that was clearing the ball as fast as I could, putting it to the front man as fast as I could, and getting up the pitch and shouting at people.
You are a Leicester fan. How are you feeling to see your team back in the Premier League after a 10-year absence?
Amazing. I was there as a kid, when they're in the Premiership. It was fantastic. I was watching the Premiership years the other day on a rival of yours, and it was something that brought tingles back at the back of my neck. And obviously it's been reported again that they've gone up, and that's probably why they were showing it. And it was just amazing to look back and be around the squad and be around the Premiership years that Leicester had. And I'll tell you now, it was one of the best experiences I ever had, even not playing for them, being but wearing that Premiership badge on my arm, getting free McDonald's because you got a gold card because you're a big hitter, and just little things that you stick out in your mind. They just stick out in your mind. It's bizarre, going away with getting invited to international tournaments in America and Greece, and going with Martin O'Neill and Matt Elliott and Ian Marshall, and now they're in the Prem. They'll understand that these young lads who've got them to the Prem will understand that they're real footballers, and the Prem boys are fantastic. The Football League lads are aiming to be Prem boys, and I don't mind saying that.
28 career moves, and all you can remember is free McDonald's. Well, it was a 4-1.
International tournaments, I said. International tournaments.
In fairness, you did qualify. It was a 4-1 home defeat to Brighton in the midweek fixtures after a 21-game unbeaten run. Wasn't quite following the script. Not that it dampened the ardour of celebrating supporters. Results elsewhere last weekend meant that Leicester City's win against Sheffield Wednesday on Friday night sent them into the Premier League after a decade away. Nevertheless, not quite the way striker Chris Wood expected to be celebrating.
I mean, it's just one of those things in football. It happens. It's a disappointing loss for us. We'll have to look at ourselves and the way we went to the game and we approached it and the way we played. We wasn't up to scratch of our standard, and we'll get back on that training pitch and make sure we put it right come Monday.
Was it difficult? Is it difficult when you have had that big bout of euphoria? Clearly, 21 games unbeaten, got promoted, and then all of a sudden you have to go again so quickly.
I don't think it's difficult in that sense. I just think maybe we got a bit complacent or just took our foot off the pedal. We just weren't 100% focused. It was just one of those things. You can't pinpoint what happened. We just weren't good enough on the night as a collective team. That's the whole squad. And we're just going to have to put that right. I mean, it's one game. We don't have to get upset about it. It's just one game. Doesn't matter to us. We'll move on to the next one and focus.
Good. I'm glad you said that. Can we talk about the whole season? And can we talk about, first of all, where you were when you learned that you'd been promoted?
I was around at Kingy, so we had a nice little time around there.
A few of the boys?
Yeah, there was a few of the boys around there. So
give me numbers, Chris. Come on.
Roughly. 7, 8 of us. So we just had a nice, quiet afternoon watching the results come in, and then when the results come in, we were very happy at the end of it. So it was a great day in that sense. We got promoted, so it'll be one of the days that will stick in the minds for a lot of us for a long time to come. And we enjoyed that, and then we got down to business Sunday and Monday.
Can you describe the emotion when you knew you were up? I mean, is it relief? What is it that goes through you?
I think it's excitement. I mean, we're all so pleased and so happy. And then we were watching the Chelsea game afterwards, and you're sitting back and watching it, just relaxing. You're thinking, oh, we'll be playing there next season. We're playing these type of teams, and it's just one of those exciting feelings that you get.
Do you think the gaffer needs a real pat on the back as well? Much misunderstood from a distance. People think he's a grumpy beggar. But within the club, I was there a few weeks ago, everybody loves him. He works in a certain way.
Well, he gets the job done. He's very well at that. He is a great man management. He works well with the boys, gets us working hard on the training pitch, and that brings us into the games. And yeah, he goes unsung at some points in the season and things like that, but it is his hard work behind the scenes that it's making us play this well.
And you've had quite a pairing sort of in front of you this season. Bits of communication with you, letting you know where you stand, how you fit in, and all the rest of it too.
Yeah. He knows my situation. He knows I was frustrated and things like that. But I couldn't argue. Vards and Nuge were doing absolutely fantastic this season. So I had nothing wrong to say about that, because I'd only have something bad if they weren't doing their job. But they were doing their job, so I had nothing to worry about.
Well, you did weigh in with the odd crucial goal yourself, young man, I have to say.
Yeah.
Right on the button.
I tried to get as many goals as I can when I came on the pitch and things like that. But now I've got a chance to hopefully push on and get a few more starts come the end of the season.
Where obviously getting this title in the bag ASAP is the priority now.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice. We're gonna look forward to the next game. Make sure we go there ready to hopefully get those 3 points.
Leicester City striker Chris Wood. Do you know what, Guy? I think the best tribute we could pay is that even Alan Birchinall from that famous Leicester team of the late 60s, early 70s, he was saying he thinks the current Leicester side is the best since then. He really thinks they're singing.
Yeah, fantastic team. He's got some good young lads in there, but then he's gone and got experience who have won that league, gone up in that league. Gary Fletcher, Kevin Phillips, people like that who can be around the young lads and guiding them along the way, because these lads will need guiding when they get into the Premiership, and from now onwards as well. Mentally, they're going to be getting a lot of outside sources coming in, talking to them, other agents, other companies trying to get hold of them to endorse things, and that can take your mind off the whole entire situation of pre-season training ready for the Premiership season. And they're the things that a lot of football fans don't see, and also a lot of people outside of football don't see that the minds get taken away from the football pitch. And Nigel Pearson, being how he is, very dominant within the football club and wants to run it his way, will make sure that the lads he brings in are characters for the next season. But also, the side that he formed will be a lot of the lads he brought up through the ranks, as he will say, and give them the opportunity, I think, for next season like he's done before.
Should we respect the fact that he's done it his way? Because he's certainly come of age this season, hasn't he? People have sort of accepted the fact that the media persona that we all see, which I still say is nothing like how he is behind the scenes, is very much him, doing it as he wants to do it.
And why not? Why not go into a football club, have a blueprint, put it down on paper, tell people this is how it's going to be ran, and then he's now had the time to do that. Before he was in there and he was trying to make these statements to the board, and the board weren't having it, and they wanted to run it their way. But I'm all about backing the manager. I'm all about backing the manager's blueprint. And when I was lucky enough to work at the football club as a coach, a kids coach, it was everywhere. It was, I want this, and this done on this day because this and this is the end result. And there was some amazing stuff on the boards, on the whiteboards as you walk into the dressing rooms, even for the kids to learn from and to educate themselves. And it's like walking into a school, and that's how football clubs should be ran all the way through. So everyone knows the blueprint of the first team manager all the way through. So if they need a young lad to come through into the first team, he's educated in that process. And that's the fantastic thing that Nigel's trying to do, and full credit to him. He's a fantastic manager, and he doesn't get the credit he deserves in the press. Why he's ever been, shouted at or moaned at by the fans of Leicester, I don't know. He's got in the playoffs, he's got into obviously now the Premier League, and he should just be given the key to the city. And I mean that. He's a fantastic bloke.
We should pay our own tribute to Brighton for that victory, but it was a freak result, as I did say to Chris Wood there. Is it difficult when you've had that moment of euphoria? And clearly, as Chris told us there, he was together with a load of the squad. The results come in on Saturday night, and then, within 48 hours, 3 days later, you've got to get back in the groove and go again. Can you understand how a result like that might happen?
I've been lucky enough to be promoted, and it's a fantastic thing for your family to win. So you imagine that the group that they've got a load of great young lads, Andy King, Vardy, Liam Moore, go through the whole team. But the fantastic young lads, a good solid squad together. You've got some nice experience there as well. Wes Morgan, who knows a night out when he sees one. And he will be a group. And I ain't saying these are bad lads the way they're living, but they've just just got promoted to the Premier League. Come on, give them a night off. And if they lose 4-1, I personally think he should have probably mixed up the lads who hadn't played totally and gave them a run, because they've just been promoted to the Premier League, and it's fantastic for them as a football club.
You're listening to Football League Radio, available on the Football League website and now on all of the League Club websites. Simply scroll down to the bottom of the homepage and click on the logo. More to come from the Sky Bet Championship up next.
Kick it. TradePoint. Come on, lads, get the man. TradePoint. One stop, get the lot. TradePoint.
Pick up your new TradePoint catalogue in store today with over 1,500 new products. Check out tradepoint.co.uk to find your nearest counter. TradePoint members only.
TradePoint.
There can't be many weekends where Harry Redknapp experiences a new feeling in football, given his 49-year career in the game as a player and manager. But last weekend was the very first time he'd competitively returned to Dean Court to face the team that launched his career in the dugout, Bournemouth.
Once I got into it, I was fanatical about it. I was out every night watching games and driving all over the country to watch players, and people used to say to me, you're mad, every night you're going. But that was part of it. I educated myself and knew all the players in the lower divisions and all the players that we could pick up on free transfers that could improve the team. And eventually we ended up getting promoted for the first time in the club's history. We got into the old, it was the second division in them days, now the Championship. And that was the first time in 100 odd years that the club had done it. So it was a fantastic time for us. But it's like everything, isn't it? You need a few breaks on the way. My first game I took over, we lost 9-0 to Lincoln away. My first Saturday I took over as a caretaker. And you thought, well, that's the end of me. But 9-0 at Lincoln. We went there and the pitch was frozen. It was every game nearly in the country was off that day. And we got there. David Webb had left. David was an excellent manager, and he'd left, and I took the team on a Saturday. And the only boots we had were long nylon studded boots. We had no rubber boots, and the lads were slipping over going out for a warm-up, and they came out and they had all little pimples. They were top of the league, Lincoln, at that time. and they had a team of real good players. About 6 or 7 went on to play at the top level, and they had the little pimpled boots, and we were just skating around like Bambi on ice, and we were 9-0 down with about 25 minutes to go, and we got a corner, and the old, it was only me and the old trainer, John Kirk. John was a lovely man. He was a kit. He did the kit. He did everything, and me and him were just taking the team, just the two of us, and we got a corner, and Kirk is saying to the centre half, get up, go up. I said, hang on, get back. I said, we ain't going to win 10-0. I ain't going to win 10-9. I said, I think we'd better make sure we don't get beat 20-0 the way we're going. But it was 9-0 with about 25 minutes to go, and we hung on for 9-0 in the end. That was the result. So
can you imagine if your chairman then had said, well, listen, we can't have this, had sacked you off?
Oh no, I expected that. And to be honest, a couple of weeks went by. We then got beat 5 somewhere at Orient, and then suddenly we went to Gillingham and won, who was second in the league, beat them away from home 5-2, I think it might have been. I was saying, beat Oxford at home, who were flying at the time. So that was that, but so ups and downs.
How do you feel going back for the first time competitively? I can't believe you've not done this before. Since you left in '92, you're going back for the first time.
Looking forward to it. I mean, Eddie's done a fantastic job there, Eddie Howe. He's gone in there and took them back into the Championship again, and as it's only the second time they've done that. So. And he's a great young manager, Eddie. I've got so much time for him. I signed him as a player. I took him to Portsmouth, and his first game, Notts Forest, or his first game of that season, he made his debut the end of the season before against Preston, I think it might have been. And then the following season, Notts Forest, after about 25 minutes, Eddie did his knee and never recovered from that, and really almost finished his career. He was a real good player. Eddie played at the back, read the game, understood what, a little bit of Bobby Moore about him. I couldn't put him in. I wouldn't be fair to compare anyone to Moore, but Eddie had a bit of class about him as a player. Knew the game, read the game well, and he's gone on to do fantastic things at Bournemouth. So I'm delighted for him.
If an opportunity like this hadn't come along, you were doing a little bit of advisory work down there. Would that have been enough for you to sort of, at the age you were then, 65, maybe semi-retired down there?
Not really. No, it was just the chairman, Eddie Mitchell. Eddie Mitchell had done a good job at the club and all. I mean, you look at the stadium now; it's in fantastic shape. The club, good training ground outside in the park, where the park keeper used to throw us off every day. They now own the part of that park and use that as their training ground. And they've built the club up. It's in great shape. But no, it wasn't something that I really wanted to do at the time. It was just it was something to do on a Saturday, and Eddie wanted me to just have a little bit of involvement. I said I would do it for him, but I was always going to come back in somewhere.
It's amazing the ties that bind, isn't it? I mean, I'm trying to think of you as a 25-year-old leaving West Ham, joining them as a player in '72.
Yeah.
Probably didn't know anything about that area of the country, and yet now we all think Harry Redknapp, Sandbanks, owns half the coastline, all the rest of it.
Yeah, no, I went down there, and I was a real, from the East End of London. My wife, we really didn't to go and settle down there. John Bond signed me. Obviously, Kevin, who now works with me, has been everywhere with me. Kevin, his dad John was the manager, and John played with me at West Ham, and John was a great player and a fantastic manager. So when he asked me to go and play down there, and when I went there, they had people like Ted McDougall, Phil Boyer. They were a real up-and-coming team that were going places, but John did well, and then he got the opportunity to go to Norwich, and he left, and the club never really recovered from that. Had a long spell in the doldrums after that, and it's great that we came back eventually, and now to see where they are now. I love going there, Clem. When I finish playing, I will buy a couple of season tickets there and go every week and watch Bournemouth play, because they not only is a good place to go and watch football. They play fantastic football. They're a real good team, and they're very close to the playoffs, and they've still got a chance of making the playoffs. But you couldn't go anywhere and play against a team playing better football than they are in the Championship at the moment.
What about the challenge here? Hand on heart, tougher than you thought it was going to be?
Well, last year was tough, yeah, obviously. But then, when you go in, you've got 4 points from 13 games. It's obviously a real difficult one, as the lads of one or two managers have gone in this year at clubs and found it difficult. But no, I expected this year to be tough. I didn't know what to expect at the start of the year. I mean, we went down to Exeter, Peterborough pre-season. After the Peterborough game, I thought, well, we'd do well to stay up this year. I really did. I was really very scared of what was facing us, But we had a great start and had a great run and got ourselves in a position where it looked like automatic was going to happen, But Burnley were always there, Leicester were always there. And we went off the boil a little bit. We had a bad 10 days or 2 weeks where we lost Charlie Austin, We lost Danny Simpson, we lost Matty Phillips. They were three very important players for us, and we went off the boil after that for 5 or 6 weeks, and it's been difficult. But I would think the playoffs are more realistic. We're still chasing Burnley. We're still hoping that we can get there. It's not, you don't give up till it's impossible, but it's going to be tough now to make the top two.
You got much playoff experience? I'm trying to think back.
No, never been in the playoffs.
Wow.
No.
Wow. How are you feeling about that?
It's only a game, and it's
because you've kind of got to go again, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've been up there. You started 8 wins out of 10.
Yeah.
But if you do drop into them, it's that different mentality,
No,
like
it'll
West
be
Ham
tough.
had a few years ago.
Yeah, no, it'll be tough for sure. But if you could make it, whoever makes it through the final at Wembley, it's a great way to go up in the end, isn't it? But making it is going to be tough. It's going to be evens for 4 teams with very equal chances, I'd have thought.
Does this club need to go up? There's the pressure you're putting on yourself, the boys are putting on themselves, but we've all seen the financial results recently. 65 million loss to the end of last season, 180 in debt, borrowing money and stuff. Is the pressure on you to deliver Premier League from a financial point of view?
Well, it's just, you want to do it, but there's a lot of big clubs in this league, Clem, as you know. I mean, you look at the clubs, Notts Forest, they've won 2 European Cups, Derby County.
Tougher than you thought it was going to be?
Well, I always knew it would be difficult. Even West Ham the other year when they went up there to go through the playoffs. I think, as I said the other week, I think it's a ridiculous stat. I think it might only be 5 teams who have gone up automatically who have been relegated the following season since the Premier League started. There's not an awful lot of teams, is it? When you go down, you look at Wolves last year. What a club! Massive, fantastic club. They've gone down, from the Premier into the old 3rd division or 1st division, whatever we call it now. And they're on their way back up again. But once you go down, it's not easy. You lose momentum. So we had to throw a new team together this year. Really, 18 players left here. A lot of good players. One's playing at Racing Milan, one's playing for Seville, one's playing for Newcastle, scoring every week. But they had to go because of the wages they were earning. We had to cut the wage bill and let them go. They were players that were here. But so we had to rebuild, and we've done that, and we've built a good squad, good group of lads, and we've got as good a chance as anybody now. If we make the playoffs, we'll be one of 4 teams with a good chance.
When you've been at the sort of level you have been the last few years, and Champions League, Spurs and all the rest of it, is there an adjustment for you as well? Is your passion burn as brightly, or does it alter depending on the circumstances?
I'm still the same. I still get as low when it don't go well, and I still get the same buzz when you win. I think when you lose that, it's time to pack up. When I don't feel I want to get up in the morning to drive here, I won't bother anymore. I will retire and take it, do what I want to do in my life, really. I do it because I love it. I don't do it, because I need to do it. I do it because football is in my blood. And if I wasn't here, I'd be watching the kids play with the park Sunday morning. I'd go every Sunday morning watching the kids, watching the grandkids play. That's what I enjoy. I love football. So I love it. And if I stop loving it, I'll pack up.
The QPR manager, Harry Redknapp. When I asked him about his own future, Guy, he kind of pushed it to one side and stuff like that. There's no doubt about it, it's been a tough season for him at QPR. I'm wondering why, because they've got this incredible squad, but I suppose they have had injuries to key players. But, should they have enough depth in that squad to have been able to got through and still be in the mix for an automatic place, which has clearly left them behind now?
I don't think so, personally. I've obviously been watching the leagues. The Championship's probably one of the best leagues in the world these days with the fantastic clubs that are around. We just spoke obviously about Leicester and Burnley as well. Derby picked up massive form since McLaren stepped in. But QPR themselves have got so many star players. Does he know his best team? Does he know somebody who's going to be consistent for him? Like your Dunza he's brought in and people like that. And missing Charlie Austin's been a massive blow for him.
And not only that, but Andy Johnson's been missing. He brought Kevin Doyle in and he's been injured. He probably took a wing and a prayer on a couple of lesser known forwards that came in that haven't really worked out because he felt he had to put numbers in the squad.
When he said on the interview, it's a fantastic way to go up at the playoffs. It is a fantastic way, but as a football club, coming down from the Premiership, just getting around the playoffs after the season they had last season in the Premiership, they've licked their wounds and they've got on with it. For me, they've had a decent enough season, even if they get into the playoffs, because they've got a massive squad. They've cut the budget, like you said, about obviously the Newcastle lad scoring goals and the other one, Chabat, going to AC Milan. Fantastic players leaving the football club. The heart out the team who's going to create things, and then they've gone and replaced them and they've scored goals. So for me, it's a pat on the back for Harry again. He can build football clubs from the bottom up, and he knows he can. That's why he gets so many good jobs. And if he doesn't get him to the Premier League, someone will come and get him because he knows all about football. And like he said, it's in his blood.
Burnley will be promoted on Saturday if they can beat Middlesbrough and Derby County lose to Huddersfield Town. And a lot of people were thinking, Vokes has gone, Danny Ings has had a few games out, but there you are. That's the proof of a good manager as well, that during the January transfer window he picked up Ashley Barnes, and Ashley Barnes gets the one goal at Barnsley that has locked them into this position going into the weekend.
Yeah, he's been a player I've played with for Torquay. Come on.
Well, let's be perfectly frank. I could throw any player at you across the whole of the 72 Football League clubs, and there's a fair old chance you can give me something back on them.
I can't help it. I can't help it. It's not my fault. You've asked me to come on the show. I know the kid.
I didn't even plan this because I couldn't prepare properly with your career because it goes in so many nooks and crannies. It would have taken me 3 days. Continue.
He's somebody that's fantastic. He come to Torquay as a boy, and I mean literally a boy from Plymouth. He came and held the ball up for us. He did fantastic.
He did what, sorry?
He held the ball up for us.
Held the ball up. I thought you said held the ball up for you. I thought, what kind of dressing room ritual have you got?
Big centre forward. He got hold of the ball fantastic, and that's what he does, brings people into play. And everyone was on him for scoring more goals. I don't think he needs to score more goals. He's got such good ability, twisting and turning, making things happen as a centre forward, and he can finish when he's called upon. And he'll get you the goals, I think, at the highest level because he's so clever. His movement's so clever, and he works so hard as a footballer.
If you'd like to get in touch, tweet us at football_league or send us your views and opinions using the hashtag FL Radio. You can also email the show radio@football-league.co.uk. Plenty more still to come on Football League Radio.
On Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and the Football League website, this is Football League Radio.
Making a late dash for the Sky Bet League One playoffs are Port Vale, despite, as we mentioned last week, only having one fit goalkeeper in their squad. Step forward then, striker and top scorer Tom Pope, who is now Mickey Adams' nominated reserve keeper for the rest of the season. Let's do this bit first then, Tom. Come on, tell me the story. Have you got a bit of experience? Did you used to play in goals as a kid?
Not really, to be honest. I've always been a bit brain dead, so I think I'm halfway there as keepers go, because I think most of them are brain dead, to be honest. So I've always enjoyed it, really. I enjoy diving about in training and having a little go and goal now and again. So it's something I've always enjoyed, really.
So, but obviously you're out on the field, but the idea is that, if keeper number one goes down, you obviously get thrust into action, basically.
Yeah, that's it, really. Obviously, I think we've got an embargo against us from bringing anyone in unless there's none actually fit at all. So, Sam Johnston's got the number one jersey at the minute with Chris being out injured, and I'm striker stroke second choice keeper at the minute.
You've started nudging ahead of me, and obviously playing League One now. Have you been in the idea of it's been a lot harder this year for you, or are you still happy with the way you're going in your goals?
I've started off slowly, to be fair. I'd injured my hand right at the end of pre-season, and as a big man, when you try and hold off big centre halves and you bust all the ligaments in your hand, then it's difficult to try and use your strength and hold people off. And it's a difficult start. I didn't score in the first 5 or 6 games, and then I've slowly and surely started picking back up again, and not just goals, but I think the performances have been improving, and it's difficult. You're playing against better players, and not only do they keep the ball better, but they punish you at the other end as well. So, as well as anybody, that if you get a couple of goals up and we've made a couple of mistakes, it's a lot easier to see the game out, and you find it difficult to break teams down, and that's certainly what's happened a lot this year.
At what point does having a difficult opponent sort of become a mutual respect? Because I could imagine if it's quite physical and stuff, there might be little niggles that could turn into an argument, a grudge and stuff. But how come you two do have this mutual respect?
I think it's just through talking off the pitch. We've got a lot of friends that are also my friends, and we speak a lot after the games. Everybody knows that when you come up against Brano, he's going to be try and give you a beating, and you just got to take that as a compliment off him and know that you, as I do with all defenders really, when you're getting smashed by him, you just have to take it as a compliment and realise that you see it as a threat, and I think anybody will tell you in the game of football off the pitch that Branner's one of the nicest guys you'll meet. And, I don't hold grudges with anybody just because somebody kicks me. I give it out myself.
Just business, isn't it? It's nothing personal. It's just business, and we have to deal with it the best way we can.
But Guy, not everybody would agree with you. You see, not everybody. I can imagine there are little grudges out there. I can imagine with all the clubs you've played at, there'll be those sort of regular meetings of two players coming together where you just know that your fellow centre half doesn't like the centre forward, or vice versa, or whatever and stuff. So, I mean, is it usual or?
Yeah. I don't play no more, so I can say like little black books, all them scenarios where you do have an element of wanting to get a certain player back if you can, but you don't always get that these days with what goes on in the game, the referee and the fourth officials seeing things and highlighting it to the ref, and you don't always get the opportunity these days like you used to back in the day.
And Tom, have you got an inbuilt computer of defenders you come up against, or do you keep a little book yourself of kind of which side guy's weaker or stronger on, or is it just instinctively built in your head because you've played him so many times?
Oh, I think that's right. I think I remember Adi Akinbaye being on I think it was Soccer AM once, and he used to go out and see which one he could bully, and basically would just look into his eyes and think, I'm going to get the better of you today. And I think when you've played against certain players so many times, you understand who's a good footballer, who's the big physical guy, who's the quicker one, and you understand different aspects of their game and what you can prey on and what have you.
Tom, where are we this season with Port Vale overall then? There've been murmurings. Obviously, you alluded to the transfer embargo. Does that mean you're punching above your weight? Similarly, it was said a few weeks ago that Mickey Adams was thinking about his own position because of some criticism that had been had and stuff. Where do you see the club right now?
Well, on the pitch, we've done a fantastic job. I think, obviously all this uncertainty surrounding everything, it obviously has a negative effect onto the pitch. I think we've got something like 15, 16 players out of contract in the summer, and, there's talk of the manager not being here, the chairman not being here, the embargo. So everything's a bit up in the air at the minute, but, we're just taking each game as it comes, and it's a chance for them players that are out of contract to try and earn themselves one, and obviously with scouts and other people watching games to, put them on the to, if they're not going to be at Port Vale, to get a club elsewhere.
Always a pleasure, Tom. Appreciate you joining us.
No problem. Cheers, Clem.
Port Vale striker / goalkeeper Tom Pope. Must talk about Wolves, Guy Branston. 4 more points for an immediate return to the Championship. Since Christmas, they have just been imperious.
Yeah, and he's gone in there, Kenny Jackett. He's had to cut the wage bill because obviously fantastic payers. He's had to go in there and be ruthless to some of the big earners, and it's worked within the squad because he's probably brought the squad closer together. He's brought in so-called cheaper talent like your Jacobs from Derby, and obviously Sacco's stayed there, which I could have swore he was going to go to the Prem the way he was playing last season in the Championship, let alone this season. And he's for me, Kenny Jackett's up there with probably manager of the year for what he's done at Wolves, because that looked like one of them clubs that was going to go drop, and they had a bad egg, a group of lads who seemed to not really be bothered about the club that they were playing for, and he's rustled them out, got rid of them, and now he's got a group of lads who want to play again for Wolves, and the fantastic, I suppose, history that it stands up to be. And if they can get back in this into the Championship, then that's an amazing season.
The breaking news in League One is that Tranmere Rovers have terminated the contract of manager Ronnie Moore after admitting an FA charge for breaches of betting regulations. Well, clearly this is a fella that you know well, because we're about to take a mazy dribble around all your League One clubs, and believe me, that's going to be a very long time taken. But obviously, in all seriousness, you were together for 5 years at Rotherham, 1999 to 2004, and it was quite a golden era for the club, wasn't it? He's a fella you know well.
Yeah, he signed me for Rotherham from Leicester City. He was someone who sold me my first house. I always wind him up about that because I ended up living around the corner from him because he wanted to keep an eye on me. So I've literally gone in there and he told me to buy.
He sold you your first house.
There was a new estate opened up in Rotherham, and he told me to go and look at these houses when I first moved up there. And I said, "Oh, these are beautiful. I'll buy one of these. This is great." I was a naive kid. He says, "Oh, try this one. This one's even better." And literally 2 rows down, his house could see my house. And so he could keep an eye on me. So every time I left the light on, the hall light, he'd moan about it at training in the morning. I've been up too late. But no, he's a fantastic bloke, and I've got a lot of time for him and his family. they've been good to me through my career. And I mean, he came to Oldham, and he ended up making me captain, and then I had a bit to do with him getting that job because Simon Corney, the Oldham chairman, rang me up about him, and I told him the truth. He'll keep us up and hopefully push us on next season if you give him the right sort of budget. And we nearly got in the playoffs that year, and so I weren't too far away.
So we've had Rotherham, Peterborough United you talked about a little bit earlier. Obviously you had your various spells there. Oldham you've mentioned as well. Colchester United I think got a little mention early doors as well, didn't they? That was the sort of that was the start of your career on a bit of a loan spell there under Steve Wignall. Yeah.
First league club under them. It was a brilliant time.
Yeah, okay. Bradford City of course quite recently under Peter Jackson and then Phil Parkinson.
Yeah, not so happy, but what a club, what a football club, well ran, well organised, and Peter Jackson, an amazing character. He used to hug me every day. It was a bit weird, but
did he?
Yeah, I mean proper hug me as well. He's a big boy.
He could fully get his arm. Was it a strong, manly hug?
I didn't have a father figure in my life. I don't want to be touched, and he's grabbing me all the time, and I'm thinking, get off me. But he's a character, and he was getting me in his office chatting, and it was a bit too much chatty for me because I just wanted to get on with my job, and then Phil just couldn't wait to get rid of me. So it were hard. It were an hard time for me mentally because I moved away from my missus after a fantastic time with Torquay, and I had to go up there, and I wanted to get them promoted so much, and I wanted to play for a big club so much again. And Bradford are a massive football club, and if they could dwarf Leeds if they wanted to, if they got anywhere near them. I'm telling you, it's that big a club when you get behind the fans. An amazing group of people.
Wow, that is some claim. And skipping backwards a bit, Notts County would be the other one from League One where you were there. For a couple of years, 2007, 8. We're sort of doing these in no.
I wasn't there for a couple of years. I was there for 28 days.
28 days. Did it breach the 2 years?
No, it was literally. I signed from Peterborough. And I did a 28-day contract, and I ended up in the Conference North because I fell into the probably only 3 players who fell into the too many clubs in one season rule, and I couldn't sign for anyone else that season. So it's either see out the season from February onwards, or go and play in the Conference North and pick up some non-league money. So I went and chased the pounds, didn't I?
Wow, the life of a. Are we allowed to call you a journeyman footballer?
Yeah, travelling salesman. I'm happy with that.
That works. Works for me as well. The voice of Guy Branston. You're listening to Football League Radio, brought to you by TradePoint. If you want to see and hear more from your Football League club, then why not check out their YouTube page where you'll find exclusive interviews, match highlights and more.
TradePoint. Come on lads, get the man. TradePoint. One stop, get the lot. TradePoint.
Pick up your new TradePoint catalogue in store today with over 1,500 new products. Check out tradepoint.co.uk to find your nearest counter. TradePoint members only.
TradePoint.
Hovering ominously just above the scrap to stay in the Football League at the bottom of League Two, one of the league's most experienced managers recently moved upstairs to be replaced by his assistant manager, Darryl Clark. I'm talking, of course, about John Ward at Bristol Rovers. Now, we're going to talk to you about that, but before we go any further, alongside me this week, can I introduce you to Guy Branston? Now, Guy, have you got a bit of business with John to attend to?
Yeah, I just want to know why you released me a couple of years ago, John. Is it all right if we get it out on the radio now?
Yeah, you can do it. Guy, you can come back now. Guy, you're twice as big as me and twice as strong as me. So you want a contract and you want to play for us, Guy, not a problem.
You've met my mum. You know how nice I am.
That's right. I have met your mum, yeah, and she was very nice too. So you're a nice family. Well done,
Great
Guy.
stuff. I always love it when you come on, Wardy, because obviously you gave us your great insights. Was it Snoop, Doggy Dogg and the Killers last time you came out to talk about? Now you're intimately acquainted with Guy Branston's mother. Oh, where are we going to go next?
That was in New York, by the way.
Yeah, New York, a couple of years ago when he was Wolves manager.
There you go, Clem.
What just randomly you bumped
into each other in the Rockefeller Centre, and I went, "Hey, John, Guy," and he went, "Blah blah 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 blah," and we started talking. He was with his missus travelling, and I took my mum there for a 50th.
Absolutely. There you go,
Clem.
Clem.
Make this stuff up. We can't make this stuff up.
It's fantastic.
Do you know what? I just feel like going and get myself a little glass of Chablis or something and leaving you two to it.
So why did you release me?
On a serious note, John. I mean, clearly, this was a template that was in place, always on the cards that eventually you'd move upstairs to become director of football. Darryl Clark would take over, but perhaps not now.
Well, the timings, when is everything going to be okay? If you're top of the league, middle table, whatever, you know, it was a decision that the chairman put to me a few games ago, and I put it to him about 12 games ago when we'd had a nice little run of games, and then they had a board meeting and came back to me and said, do you want to do it now? And I said, it's entirely up to you as a chairman and a board of directors, and they wanted to do it. So I was fine with that. It was to say something that we wanted to do, and Darryl was ready to go. I helped in the appointment of Darryl, and he's been a manager before in the lower leagues. He knows the running of a football club, and that was full time at Salisbury too. So we went for it, and if everything works out all right, it'll be a good decision because he's got a good career ahead of him.
So absolutely supportive of what the board are wanting to do and things.
Yeah, it was mooted with myself when I first came in, really. I came in at the end of last season with 20-odd games to go to try and help them retain a league status, which we did. And even then I was ready to sort of go and move on into something else. And the persuasion was there, stay around, John, and see if we can do it. Appoint somebody, bring somebody in, bring somebody on. And so really sort of 9 months ago, Clem, we were discussing this situation. I would have done it probably then, but the club wanted to retain myself and my services around the first team and bring someone else in. So I've got Darryl in, we've got Marcus Stewart in, and I'm kind of ready to be the crutch to lean on rather than the leaner.
And very happy to be so. I mean, how do you feel? Because for me, you're still a pup, as your tastes in young man's music dictate. You know, you're still a youngish fella. But is that you now? Do you think that's the last we're going to see of you within the technical area, barring emergencies?
Yeah, I think so. And I think I think there's time. I've done 760 games in that technical area just as a manager, and added a pretty decent number as an assistant at different places as well. So, yeah, I'm ready to step down, if you like, out of the front line and help a younger manager. It's something that I kind of wanted to do over the last 3 or 4 years because when I came into it as a younger manager, although I was 40, but I'd had the opportunity to work with Graham Taylor very closely for 10 years around Watford and Aston Villa. So that was a great experience and learning curve for me. But there's something like 50% of first-time managers in the Football League who don't return, and I think that's too big a number. So to be given an opportunity to help a young manager and help determine his career, and the fact that I brought Darryl in means that he has no fear over my support. You know, he's not looking over his shoulder at me wondering what I'm thinking. I will support him and Marcus Stewart to the hilt with the football side of the club. But also the chairman's, we've got a new football ground being built in the next 18 months or so. So that's going to start, I think, this summer. And that's something the chairman has asked me to help him with in terms of what facilities we need around the footballing department. So it's a pretty exciting time for me, as well as helping young coaches. I've got a development area with a new football ground, which to say doesn't come around very often for football people.
And have you already had any moments over the last 10 days, couple of weeks, where you've thought you've turned over in bed, given Ali, your wife, a good kick, and then thought, oh no, I don't need to worry about that anymore because that's now Darryl's responsibility? Is it a very different headspace?
Yeah. Yes, it is. I've slept better. Put it that way. You're talking about turning over and kicking Ali. I've turned over and sort of, yes, that's fine. I can stay here a little bit longer and not worry about things. And so I'm all right with that. As I say, I've got a new experience of helping with a new football ground, which is, you know, as I say, doesn't come to many managers or many people in football at any time. So that's exciting. But I'm not, at this moment, as you're talking to me, I'm not missing that day-to-day rattle where I'm getting up in the middle of the night. Can I do this? Should I do that? Who's coming in? Do I need to make sure I phone him tomorrow? That I can take a lot of some of that work off Darryl at the moment, let him coach the football team, and I can just get involved in, as I say, helping in the background and being the crutch to lean on. But I'm quite happy with that, and I think even at this early stage, I reckon I've made the right decision.
Guy Branston, where do grand old soothsayers like John Ward fit into the game? You know, if you're part of a squad and you have a father figure around the club, how will they be viewed by the players?
Well, when I was obviously Bristol with John, I was out injured, and he's always a very approachable person anyway to talk to. I called him numerous times when I was there to try and find out what was going on with my own situation, because a different manager had brought me to the football club, and John was very honest and very upfront, and I imagine he's someone to go to instead of, you know, going to see Darryl and Marcus Stewart, because you can't always talk to them about certain issues that are going on within the football club because they are the first team manager. So, you know, you can't always go to them. So John would be very approachable. John would be, you know, probably be bouncing behind the scenes with various different people, speaking to agents that Darryl wants to keep away from because he wants to concentrate on the training pitch. And I'm not obviously saying that's going to happen 100% because I don't know the situation, but I would imagine that would be happening. You'll be talking to so many contacts that you've got, getting the right sort of calibre of player in, and obviously Darryl will be organising it on the pitch and getting it right and then coming to you. So he'll be a very approachable person, and he has been through his career, and that's why he's got so many fantastic contacts.
Thank you very much, Dan. That's how I see it. Yeah.
Enjoy your new role. Any messages for Guy Branston's mother, or will you deal with that yourself privately?
Oi. We're good friends, me and John. We don't want to talk like that on the radio.
We've got to keep things... Private things have to stay private, Clem. You know that.
Hey, that hoodie I seen you in New York, you see, that's got to stay private, isn't it?
Yeah, that's got to be quite right. It's gone away, that guy. Don't worry, I haven't got it anymore.
I think we'll just gently fade these two down, shall we? Good luck, John.
Top man, John, all the best.
Guy. Thanks, guys. Thank you, boys. See you later. Bye-bye.
He is one of football's great characters, is he not? And you do need that exuberance and that ebullience, Guy.
Energy's the word you're trying to find, I think.
Thank you for that.
He's got so
we
much
bring
energy.
him on the Football League radio show once, and here he is telling me which words to use.
He's come on, and he's full of energy, he's full of life. And he when I was there, I said to you, he released me, and I was a bit annoyed because I'd literally only just got there, and I'm off again, packing my bag and packing my car up. But he spoke so well and had so much energy about the place, and I was lucky enough to see them plans of the Bristol ground, and I could see where they were going with the football club, and that's why I wanted to be part of it. It was a more of a grievance. I have to leave a fantastic club going in the right direction. Having people like that within a football club, and then hiring from within is something that football clubs should do more of. Getting lads in who know the football club, the blueprint, like I spoke about earlier, and making the club bring their own sort of coach through, sort of manager through that they want, and getting John the legend, who's obviously a Bristol Rovers legend, getting him back involved will only promote that football club in the right direction. It's
our mazy dribble around Guy's former clubs. Part 2, League 2. Oh, I'm just going to jumble them in any old order.
Any order. Go on, chuck them up.
Yeah, because that's how it feels to me and it must feel to you. Actually, we won't, because in all seriousness, as much as we congratulate Scunthorpe United for their win at Torquay, 25th match unbeaten, world record shared with Andre Villas-Boas in his Porto days, Russ Wilcox, start of a managerial tenure, all the rest of it. But what that does mean that Torquay United go into the weekend knowing that they will be relegated if they lose at Bristol Rovers and a few other results go against them. And being that you are married to a Torquay lass, and
She'll like that. I'm going out with her, but she'll really like that now you said that.
Oh, married? You're not married?
No.
We feel as though we're getting a really complex little look into your life and your mother and all sorts these days. Being that you are with a Torquay lass, heartbreaking. It's been part of you for the last few years, Torquay United, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'll be gutted, but I can't see anything else other than relegation for them. It's been a horrible time to watch them. There've been simple things doing them wrong. Chris has gone in with a bunch of lads that haven't got any fight left in them, I don't think. And I've looked through the squad, and probably 3 or 4 of them are still fighting for the shirt, and the rest of them are just ticking along and not really being involved with what actually is going on the pitch. And having a game plan can sometimes. We can blame the manager, but you look at the manager and he's saying the right things and he's doing the right things. But if the lads ain't taking it in, the lads just ain't taking it in. And I think a clean slate in the summer's important for them. And it's if they get relegated, it's about cutting the cloth, prop playing and doing the right things, money wise, and getting lads in who want to play for the football club and wear their heart on the sleeve.
And hoping that people in and around the club have the heart to come back again, because it's one thing dropping out of the league once, it's quite another if it happens twice.
100%.
Yeah,
but they've got
becomes part of the DNA, doesn't it?
Yeah, they've got a fantastic core of fans, and for me personally, sorry for saying it again, but they need to understand that a blueprint like that for that football club would be producing players, and they don't produce players. They're not a production line of players coming through the ranks, and
yet it should be a captive audience down there, because it's not as though there are a lot of other big clubs they could go off to. So if you could get it right down there, produce a little base of local players coming into the team, bang,
exactly.
Bish, bash, bosh.
Yeah, and I've been saying this for the last, when I first went there 4 years ago, they've got to do more with the youth, they've got to do more with the academy, and they've got to do more with bedding players in at that football club, not taking clubs like Tottenham and Blackburn Rovers and people. They've took lads from there and playing their players rather than sometimes just playing their own and giving them an opportunity like Crewe would do, and not always wanting to win the league. Football clubs like that can't always win the league because financially they're not always that sort of football club, and I think Torquay's one of them. They go there, they get a good level-headed lads in the dressing room, and they get good young kids from in and around the area, and they bring them lads through and they sell them on, and they progress that way rather than trying to win football leagues, trying to stay away from relegation. They just try and bed lads through and become a football club of production.
It's our quick fire round. I give you the club and roughly when you were there and the name of the manager. You give me a sentence or two to sum up your time there. A loan spell at Rochdale in the 2007-8 season under Keith Hill.
Fantastic time. Keith Hill is a big character.
Burton Albion 2009-10 season under Paul Pesky-Solido.
Weren't too sure if he knew what he was doing, but fantastic bloke.
Northampton Town 2007-8 on loan in League One under Stuart Gray. You see, they're now in League Two, but you were in League One at the time.
Stuart Gray, a very, very clever bloke. His record says that. I really liked working under him.
Plymouth Argyle. Now, we've got a loan spell in 1998, 1999 in Division 3 under Kevin Hodges. But, of course, you have been there more recently, have you not? Have you not?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course you have. Yeah. You've just been released
Sheridan,
by them.
John Sheridan, fantastic bloke off the field, on the field, and pleasure to work for.
And Kevin Hodges in that initial loan spell?
Now that he's a legend down there, he's now the youth team manager, but he brought me in, he wanted to sign me, but I was getting so homesick as an 18-year-old, so I had to go back.
And finally, Wycombe Wanderers on loan 2003-04 season in Division 2 under John Gorman and then Tony Adams.
Yeah, Tony Adams, wow. He was a character.
Just leave it there if you want, mate.
There's not a lot I can say about Big Tone.
Apart from the fact that, you're a centre-half, he was a centre-half, and presumably that's quite a daunting experience.
Yeah, he was a legend.
Leave it there, mate. Just leave it there.
He's a legend footballer.
So noises from the back of the throat will carry us through that particular section. And obviously, you have had your dilly-dalliance with non-league football. 14 former Football League clubs now in the conference. You've pulled on the shirts of Aldershot. You've pulled on the shirts of Lincoln. But of course, they were in the league at the time. But I tell you what, do you keep an eye on the conference? Obviously, this could be the weekend when Luton return after a 5-year absence.
Watch all leagues. I'm fascinated with the pyramid that we've got in England. It's the best in the world by far, and obviously Lincoln and Aldershot struggling at the bottom of the conference, obviously, and they could go out of the Football League, but Luton are a huge club. They shouldn't even be anywhere near the conference, and they've struggled getting out of it, and that's how hard it will be for Torquay next season.
When we are talking at this time next week, Luton Town will no longer, they will still be in the conference because they'll have a few games left, but you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
Now, there is a guy as well in John Still, won the conference with Maidstone in 1989, but didn't want to come into the Football League because he had rather a decent job as a salesman in the clothing and textiles industry. I think I'm right in saying brought Dagenham and Redbridge into the league a few years ago, and now he's going to do it again. That's a bit of history in the making.
He's a fantastic coach and manager, and he's got his quirky little techniques. I've spoke to a lot of lads who have worked under him, and he's a big Barry Fry's big mate, and they're always doing deals together and getting players left, right, and centre from the lower Kent leagues and finding talent, and he produces players, and that's why he's always worked at that sort of quirky club. And now he's got a big club at his age and his career was something everyone was a bit weary of him going to a big club, and if he could do it with a budget. But he's just gone and got good lads in who know the division and who can score goals, and Benton being one of them. I think he's got 15 odd goals this season.
Guy Branston, what a pleasure that was. Join us again soon, won't you?
I will do, yeah. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Our guest this week on Football League Radio, brought to you by TradePoint, has been the former, pretty much every club in the Football League and more, defender Guy Branston. A reminder, shows available to listen to on the Football League website, iTunes, SoundCloud, and the TuneIn and Stitcher mobile phone apps, and from this week on Audio Boo. Until next week, goodbye.
Football League Radio, in association with TradePoint, is an engaged sports media production for the Football League.